Welcome to the Quiet Archive, a peaceful corner of the night where curiosity and rest meet. Perhaps your eyes feel heavy after a long day, or your thoughts are still drifting from one idea to the next, even though the rest of you is ready for sleep. Maybe you're simply someone who enjoys learning something new while slowly relaxing into the evening. However you found your way here, I'm glad you're here. Tonight, we'll leave the noise of the day behind and journey into the vast and mysterious world of the ocean. So settle in, get comfortable, and allow yourself to unwind as we drift gently beneath the waves together. Imagine that we are standing together beside an invisible shoreline, somewhere far from the noise of the day. The air is cool and touched with salt, the kind of soft chill that clears the mind without waking it too much. And from just beyond the darkness, you can hear the distant hush of waves folding over themselves, again and again, like a steady, patient breath. You are not looking at the water directly, only feeling its presence, as if the whole ocean were breathing just out of sight. As you settle here, picture yourself lying back on smooth sand that you cannot quite see, only sense beneath you, supporting your weight with effortless calm. Thoughts that felt sharp and busy a few minutes ago begin to loosen, then scatter, then sink, like grains of sand drifting slowly through clear water, taking their time to reach the seafloor. Above you, the sky is a deep, velvety blue-black, and the line between sky and sea has dissolved into one continuous, gentle darkness. Tonight, we are going to travel through that darkness together, using 100 slow, soothing ocean facts as our guide. We will move from the bright surface, where sunlight still dances on the waves, down through the twilight layers where the light fades, and then farther beyond the reach of sunlight, into the deep zones where the water grows cold and quiet and full of mystery. These facts are not a test, and you do not need to hold on to them. They are simply soft images and gentle ideas, drifting past like small waves on their way to shore. Before we begin, allow your breath to slow, without forcing it, just noticing the way air moves in and out, like a tide that has always known what to do. Feel your shoulders drop a little as if they are sinking into the sand, and then imagine that the sand has become water, perfectly calm, holding you up from every side. It is a place of safety and suspension, where your body feels light, as though you are floating just beneath the surface, rocked by a swell so slow you hardly notice it. If your attention drifts in and out, that is perfectly fine. You can let curiosity gently guide you when you are awake, and let sleep take over whenever it wishes. This channel exists for moments exactly like this, offering soothing science for sleep, so that you can feel quietly informed and gently comforted at the same time. If you find this peaceful, you are welcome to like the video, or subscribe, or leave a soft little comment, as a way of joining a small, calm community of nighttime learners who share this blue, drifting curiosity about our planet. For now, though, we will simply turn our attention outward, toward the vast, hidden world of the ocean, and begin our slow descent into the deep. So as we turn our attention outward, you can imagine yourself drifting high above the earth, looking back at our planet from the quiet darkness of space, where it hangs like a softly glowing lantern in the void. From that distance, it is not a green world or a brown one. It is blue. The ocean covers about 70% of Earth's surface, wrapping almost the entire globe in a single, shining skin of water. To think that almost everything we know as land is really just the scattered high points of a much larger world of water is quietly humbling. The continents where you walk and live are small, irregular islands on a vast, continuous sea. And if you let curiosity gently guide you, you can picture that sea as an unbroken band, circling the planet, thousands of miles wide, flowing calmly past coasts and capes you will never see. From a beach, you glimpse a narrow strip of waves. From space, you see an immense blue sphere. At the shoreline, the ocean can feel like a familiar neighbor, a line of foam and moving light. Yet this is only the thinnest edge of something far larger than our senses usually hold. The horizon seems like an ending, but it is not an edge at all, just the limit of your sight. And beyond it, the water continues, stretching in every direction, smooth and patient, linking distant countries and polar ice and equatorial storms in one shared, breathing system. The ocean holds about 97% of all the liquid water on this planet. Almost everything that can flow, almost everything that can freeze and melt and rise again as mist, begins here. It is a place of quiet power, acting like a slow, steady heart and a vast, gentle lung for the earth, absorbing heat from the sun, storing carbon in its depths, and helping to shape the air you are breathing right now as you allow your breath to slow. Most of the rain that ever touches your skin has a simple origin: sunlight warming the ocean's surface. Warmed water becomes invisible vapor, rises softly into the sky, and gathers as drifting clouds that travel over forests, mountains, and cities before falling back as rain or snow. The winds that move across continents are steered by this same exchange of heat and moisture, by the endless, quiet conversation between sea and sky. All you need to do is relax and notice how this means that every river, every lake, every quiet puddle after a storm is part of the ocean's wider story. It's astonishing to think that the glass of water by your bed may once have been part of a distant wave, or a high cloud, or a drop of Antarctic snow, carried through this long cycle of evaporation, condensation, and return. From above, the ocean looks like a smooth, continuous sheet of blue, but hidden beneath the waves, it is anything but simple. Beneath the surface, the water is layered and structured, with warm, bright shallows, cool, dim twilight, and deep, cold darkness beyond the reach of sunlight. And under all of that lie mountains, trenches, and valleys we are only beginning to map. In a moment, we will leave the calm, shining skin of the sea behind and begin to sink, slowly, into those hidden layers, toward landscapes and forms of life that almost no one has ever seen. So for now, you can imagine that you are still at the very top of this vast blue world, lying weightless on the ocean's surface as evening settles, feeling only a thin, silky layer of warm water brushing against your skin, while miles of cool, waiting darkness rest quietly beneath you. The air is soft, the waves are slow, and all you need to do is relax as the last traces of daylight gather in ripples and reflections around you. From space, the ocean looks wide and endless, but here, gently floating, you begin to sense that it is not just wide, it is deep. On average, the seafloor lies about 3.7 kilometers below the surface, farther down than the highest clouds are above your head, and in certain trenches the bottom drops away to nearly 11 kilometers, deeper than Mount Everest is tall. To think that, beneath this calm, faintly glowing skin of water, there is a vertical wilderness taller than any mountain on land is quietly astonishing. Scientists have learned to think of this depth as a series of layers, stacked like invisible blankets of water, each with its own kind of light, its own temperature, its own slow rhythms of life. Near the top is the sunlit zone, where daylight still has strength, where most of the colors of the rainbow can survive, and where tiny drifting plants use that light to build the oxygen that fills your lungs. Below that is the twilight zone, dim and blue, where the light is weak and silvery, and living things must move more slowly, conserve more carefully, and adapt to a world that is always on the edge of darkness. Farther down still lies the midnight zone, a realm that is truly beyond the reach of sunlight, where the only light that appears is made by living bodies themselves, soft flashes and glows of bioluminescence signaling quietly through the dark. It is a place of enormous pressure and almost unimaginable calm, where some animals have eyes so sensitive they can detect the faintest glimmer, while others have abandoned eyes entirely because there is nothing left to see. It's astonishing to think that, even here, hidden beneath the waves in this black, silent water, life has found ways not only to survive but to flourish. As you float at the surface, you might picture the colors fading with depth. Bright, shifting blue just beneath you, then a gentler, muted shade, then a dusky, grainy twilight where shapes blur. And finally, a soft, complete darkness where vision gives way to other senses. If you allow your breath to slow and let curiosity gently guide you, you can imagine yourself beginning to sink, slowly, safely, as gently as a falling feather, passing through each of these layers in turn. In the next moments, we will drift downward together through these bands of blue, meeting new, quiet facts in every zone, and discovering how this vertical ocean shapes our planet from the glowing surface all the way down to the deepest, hidden trenches. As we begin that slow descent, we do not plunge into darkness right away. Instead, we linger first in the bright, gentle skin of the ocean, the sunlit layer that feels most familiar, where light still dances and colors are clear. This is called the sunlit, or epipelagic, zone, stretching from the surface down to about 200 meters, a relatively thin veil of water when you remember how deep the ocean can become. In this glowing band, enough light filters down for photosynthesis to unfold quietly, cell by cell, as if the ocean were breathing in sunlight and breathing out life. Tiny, drifting, plant-like organisms called phytoplankton float here in uncountable numbers, each one using light and carbon dioxide dissolved in the water to create its own food and release oxygen as a byproduct. With every slow inhale you take, you are sharing the air made by these invisible drifters, because they produce a large share of the oxygen that fills your lungs and sustains our world. To think that most of the oxygen in the air of our planet is linked to these specks, hidden beneath the waves, turning sunlight into living tissue in silence, is quietly astonishing. They gather in subtle blooms that can stretch for miles, forming floating forests too small to see individually yet vast enough to shape climate, absorb carbon, and feed entire food webs that rise and fall with the seasons. Closer to coasts, the sunlit zone becomes a patchwork of peaceful neighborhoods. Coral reefs, built patiently by tiny coral animals, rise like underwater cities, their branching towers and rounded domes providing shelter for bright fish that glide between shadows and shafts of light. In cooler waters, kelp forests sway on long, ribbon-like fronds, each gentle surge of water setting off a slow-motion dance as fish, crabs, and sea stars move through the green-brown pillars. Along sandy shallows, waves roll overhead and break into soft, white patterns, their energy muffled and rounded by the water before it reaches the seafloor. Sea turtles may cruise slowly through this clear world, their flippers moving in calm, steady strokes, crossing entire oceans and still returning, years later, to the same stretch of beach where they first emerged from the sand. It is a place of movement, yet also of deep, unhurried routine. Even the more active animals here have found ways to rest in a world that never fully sleeps. Dolphins drift in loose, protective groups, letting half of their brain rest at a time, while the other half stays just awake enough to surface for air and notice gentle changes around them. As you listen, all you need to do is relax and allow your breath to slow, knowing that even in this busy upper ocean, there is room for stillness and safety. Yet for all its brightness, this epipelagic layer is only a thin glaze on the surface of a far larger water world. More than 90% of the ocean's volume lies below, beyond the reach of sunlight, in colder, darker, quieter realms where new rules of life apply and stranger forms wait. In a moment, we will leave this familiar blue ceiling behind and drift down toward that vast, hidden deep, where the light fades, colors vanish, and the ocean begins to reveal a very different face. Now we begin to sink below that familiar ceiling of light, leaving the bright, wavering surface world behind as if we were slowly stepping out of afternoon and into a very long, gentle evening. At around 200 meters down, the last strong rays of the sun are filtered and scattered, and the ocean around you softens into a cool, muted blue, as if someone has quietly dimmed the lights on this part of the planet. This is the twilight zone of the ocean, the mesopelagic, stretching from about 200 to roughly 1,000 meters deep, a band of water where day never truly arrives and night never fully takes over. Colors drain away as you drift, reds and oranges disappearing first, then yellows, until only deep blues, silvers, and soft grays remain, so that even something brightly colored at the surface would look almost black or ghostly here, hidden beneath the waves in this underwater dusk. Sunlight can still be seen in this zone, but only as a faint, washed-out glow from far above, too weak now to power photosynthesis, too thin to feed the floating gardens of phytoplankton that needed bright light to thrive. Beyond the reach of sunlight, life must find another way, so the entire community here depends on food that falls from higher waters, a quiet rain of organic particles called marine snow, drifting downward like a slow, continuous, underwater snowfall that never quite reaches the ground. Each tiny flake of marine snow may be just a fragment of dead plankton, a grain of sand, or a speck of waste, yet together they form a gentle conveyor of energy, linking the sunlit surface to the deep darkness below. To think that the vast populations of animals in this twilight band are sustained by this delicate dusting of particles, sifting endlessly through the water column, is to glimpse how carefully balanced ocean life can be. It is a place of small, silvery fishes, drifting jellies, and transparent crustaceans. And although each individual may be tiny, their numbers are immense, making this zone one of the most densely populated layers of the ocean by sheer count of creatures. Many of them join a daily vertical migration so vast, it has been called the largest movement of life on Earth, rising toward the surface under cover of night to feed, then sinking back into the blue dusk by day, like a great, slow-breathing tide of bodies. Because light is precious here, many twilight animals have evolved large, sensitive eyes, wide lenses tuned to capture every last stray photon filtering down from above. Some have silvery sides that mirror the dim water around them, erasing their outline, while others are nearly transparent, so that muscles, organs, and even bones are barely visible, helping them vanish into the background and slip through the water like moving pieces of glass. For a moment, let the image of this blue dusk merge with your own surroundings, and notice how they quietly echo one another. Perhaps your room is dim now, shapes softened, colors muted, the only brightness coming from a small screen or a sliver of streetlight. And as you allow your breath to slow, you might feel as though you are floating in that same gentle half-light, suspended between waking and sleep, between surface and deep. All you need to do is relax and let curiosity gently guide you as we continue our descent, watching the last hints of natural light fade and the first faint sparks of living light begin to appear ahead. It's astonishing to think that, deeper still, where the twilight finally gives way to true darkness, entire communities will glow with their own soft blue-green lanterns. And in the next stretch of our journey, we will follow those tiny beacons down into the ocean's midnight realm. As we drift after those first faint sparks, the last memory of the sun slips away behind us, and the water around you becomes a calm, velvety blue-black, so quiet and still that every tiny point of light seems to breathe. Beyond the reach of sunlight, where ordinary colors fade and the surface world feels very far above, another kind of light begins to take over, softer and more patient, woven directly into the bodies of the creatures that live here. This is bioluminescence, living light, created when simple chemicals inside an animal's cells meet and react, releasing a gentle glow instead of heat or flame. In this deep ocean world, it is a place of quiet chemistry, where a small packet of molecules can become a lantern, a signal, or a shield, all without a sound. To think that so many different forms of life, from drifting plankton to long, ribbon-like fish, share this same glowing trick, each adjusting the brightness and color as calmly as you might adjust a bedside lamp. Bioluminescence is thought to be the most common form of communication on our planet, more widespread than birdsong, more constant than city lights, whispering through the darkness every night. All around you, beyond what your eyes can easily hold, countless tiny flashes, glows, and slow pulses bloom and fade, as if the water itself were thinking in blue-green. It's astonishing to think that most of these messages will never be seen by human eyes. Yet they guide entire lives in this hidden realm. Creatures here use their living light in many different ways, each one a quiet solution to the problem of surviving in the deep. Some fish and squid carry rows of tiny lamps along their bellies, matching the faint light from above so perfectly that, when a predator looks up, their bodies vanish into the dim glow of the surface, a moving invisibility cloak made of careful brightness. Others prefer sudden flashes, brief bursts of light that startle and confuse anything that comes too close, like a camera flash in the dark, buying just enough time to slip away into the water. Then there are the patient hunters that dangle tiny glowing lures in front of their mouths, letting the current move the light like a drifting snack, inviting curious prey to come just a little nearer. All you need to do is relax as you picture them waiting, motionless in the darkness, while their single point of light sways and shimmers, the deep-sea version of a porch light left on for a late visitor. If you imagine yourself sinking slowly through this water column, each gentle kick of your fins would stir the darkness into motion, sending up clouds of blue-green sparks from invisible plankton, like underwater fireflies or stars stirred into life by your passing hand. Allow your breath to slow as you watch them rise and fade, a private galaxy blooming around you and then dissolving back into the quiet. Let curiosity gently guide you as we move deeper still, toward the midnight zone, where there is no hint of day at all, and where entire lives unfold in this lightless world, guided only by these quiet, living stars that glow, signal, and shimmer in the endless dark. Now we sink past the last scattered sparks of living light, and the glow of that drifting galaxy above us slowly fades until it is only a memory, soft and far away. We are entering the midnight zone, the bathypelagic realm, beginning roughly 1,000 meters beneath the surface, where sunlight cannot reach at all, and the darkness is complete, unbroken, and gently absolute, like an endless, quiet night that never needs to end. Down here, beyond the reach of sunlight, the ocean becomes a different world altogether, not chaotic or frightening, but steady and calm, a vast volume of water that hardly ever changes. The pressure climbs to dozens, and then hundreds of times what you feel at the surface, each extra meter adding its small weight until it would crush ordinary objects. And yet the water itself feels slow and serene, moving in deep, deliberate currents that circle the planet over centuries. Temperatures hover just above freezing, cold but constant, and in this stable chill, time seems to stretch and smooth out, as if the whole ocean were taking a long, unhurried breath. It is a place of extremes, but also a place of balance, where life has learned to meet the pressure not with force, but with softness. Many animals here have bodies without air pockets, made of flexible tissues and gentle gels that simply yield to the weight of the water, so they are never crushed, only held. All you need to do is relax into the thought that, even in such intense conditions, living things have found countless quiet ways to endure, to float, and to drift. In this deep darkness, light becomes precious, and so some creatures grow enormous, light-sensitive eyes, wide as plates compared to their bodies, tuned to catch the faintest trace of bioluminescence in the water around them. A single distant flicker, a tiny blue-green pulse, can be enough to reveal a passing shape or a slow-moving neighbor, and these animals spend their lives reading these glimmers like stars. Others take the opposite path and have no eyes at all, because here, sight would add little to their world, and instead they rely on touch, on smell, and on the tiniest vibrations carried through the water, turning the whole ocean into a gentle, three-dimensional map they can feel. Because food is scarce, and the environment changes so little, many deep-sea creatures grow slowly and live long, careful lives, conserving every bit of energy. They move with a kind of graceful laziness, fins and tentacles tracing small, economical arcs, drifting when they can and only swimming when they must, perfectly matched to the stillness around them. Allow your breath to slow as you imagine them suspended in the water, not in a rush to go anywhere, simply existing in the patient dark. Hidden beneath the waves at these depths are some of the most unusual yet peaceful forms of life on our planet, and to think that they spend every moment in this quiet night is strangely comforting. The vampire squid, despite its name, is a delicate drifter. The anglerfish carries its own lantern. Ghostly jellyfish trail long, luminous veils behind them. It's astonishing to think how different they are from anything at the surface, and yet how calmly they belong here. And as we continue, we will meet them one by one, gently, in the safety of this story, with no need to feel afraid of the darkness at all. And among those gentle strangers, one has a name that sounds far more frightening than the creature itself. The vampire squid, known to science as Vampirotuthis infernalis, literally translates to vampire squid from hell. Yet in the quiet reality of the deep, it is small, delicate, and almost shy, drifting slowly through the water like a dark petal carried on a current. You can picture it now, hidden beneath the waves, far beyond the reach of sunlight, where the ocean has faded from blue to a calm, endless black. Its body is soft and almost gelatinous, not built for speed or attack, but for simply existing in this still, heavy water. And from its body extend arms that are joined by a thin web of skin, forming a cloak or cape that it can draw around itself when something startles it, turning from an open, drifting shape into a quiet, folded umbrella of living tissue. Its eyes are large and dark, among the largest in proportion to body size in the animal world. And in the faint, scattered light of the deep, they can appear red or blue, like polished glass marbles watching the slow fall of marine snow. When the vampire squid wraps its webbed arms around its body, tiny soft spines on the inside of that cloak give it a slightly thorny outline. But even this is more like a costume than a threat, a way of saying, I am not easy to eat, rather than an invitation to any kind of struggle. Despite its name, it does not bite, stalk, or drink blood. Instead, it survives on the gentlest of diets, feeding on marine snow, the constant, quiet drizzle of tiny particles of organic material that sink down from the bright surface waters above. With long, thin, retractable filaments and a coating of sticky mucus, it gathers these flakes of drifting life, rolls them together, and slowly guides them to its mouth, turning what sounds terrifying into a lifestyle that is almost like slow-motion gardening in the darkness. The vampire squid lives in a band of water where oxygen is scarce, a shadowy zone where many other animals cannot stay for long, yet this is where it is most at home. Its slow movements, low-energy muscles, and simple, unhurried way of feeding mean it can thrive where others would quickly tire. And as you imagine it hovering there, you can allow your breath to slow, matching its gentle rhythm, feeling how peaceful survival can be when nothing is rushed, and all you need to do is relax into the water of this imagined world. To think that a creature with such a dramatic name is, in truth, a quiet drifter, is a reminder that the deep ocean is full of stories like this, where mystery and adaptation are far softer than they first appear. As we continue downward, we will keep meeting beings that seem strange at first glance, yet let curiosity gently guide you, because again and again the ocean will show us that behind every eerie outline there is simply another calm way to live in the dark. So we keep drifting downward with that same gentle openness, and the water around you grows darker, softer, quieter, until even the strange silhouettes of drifting animals begin to thin out and fade. Beyond the reach of sunlight, far below the busy surface, we arrive at one of the calmest places on our planet, a realm where time itself seems to slow until it almost stops. These are the abyssal plains. They are vast, flat regions of the deep ocean floor, stretching for thousands of kilometers like enormous, level deserts of waterlogged dust, usually 3,000 to 6,000 meters beneath the surface where no daylight ever arrives. Here, the seafloor is covered in fine sediment, tiny particles of shell, mineral, and organic matter that drift down through the darkness for years, and then settle in layers, as quietly as dust in a silent room that no one has entered for a very long time. All you need to do is relax as you picture this landscape, a soft, dimly lit plain, lit only by the rare flicker of bioluminescent life passing overhead, with no waves, no storms, just a slow rain of particles falling through the deep. It is a place of extreme stillness, where currents creep rather than rush, and where the loudest sound might be the distant crack of shifting rock, arriving after traveling for hundreds of kilometers through the water. Across this muted world, sea cucumbers make their unhurried journeys. They are soft-bodied, sausage-shaped animals, related to sea stars and sea urchins, and they move by gently flexing rows of tiny tube feet, inching their way over the sediment. To think that an entire life can be spent in such slow motion is strangely comforting. Each movement is small, deliberate, and almost meditative, as if the animal itself is reminding us to allow your breath to slow and let each moment unfold at its own pace. Sea cucumbers feed on the thin layer of organic material that blankets the seafloor, taking in mouthfuls of sediment, extracting the faint traces of food, and leaving behind clean, reworked sand. Some individuals move so slowly that crossing a few meters of seafloor can take many hours or even days, turning their existence into a continuous, unhurried walk across the same quiet plain, step after tiny step. In some regions of the abyssal plains, these patient creatures are among the main visible forms of life, joined by a few starfish, brittle stars, and small burrowing worms. Together, they quietly recycle nutrients, cleaning and stirring the sediment, keeping the deep-sea ecosystem functioning even though almost no one ever sees them. It's astonishing to think that, hidden beneath the waves, this slow, invisible work helps support the wider ocean above. As you float here with them in your imagination, let curiosity gently guide you to the edges of this flat world, because the seafloor does not stay level forever. Somewhere beyond the horizon of this dark plain, the ground will begin to rise and fall again, lifting into mountain ranges, dropping into trenches, and cracking open around hot springs that pour out mineral-rich water, all waiting quietly in the dark for us to visit next. Somewhere out ahead of you, that cracked seafloor begins to rise. Very slowly at first, like a gentle swell in the dark, and then, over hundreds of kilometers, it climbs into a chain of mountains so long it wraps around the entire planet. Hidden beneath the waves, beyond the reach of sunlight, lies the longest mountain range on Earth, more than 60,000 kilometers of peaks and valleys, curling around our world like the seam on a baseball. To think that the greatest range on this planet is not the Himalayas we see in photographs, but this mid-ocean ridge we almost never picture, can quietly rearrange the map in your mind. The ocean floor is not a flat, forgotten bottom. It is a place of slow collisions and slow separations, where the solid skin of the Earth stretches and cracks. Along these ridges, tectonic plates are gently pulling apart, and in the narrow space between them, hot magma rises up, touches the cold water, and freezes into brand new rock in a process called seafloor spreading. All you need to do is relax as you imagine this, because it happens at a pace that matches the rhythm of your breath, only a few centimeters a year, like fingernails growing. Yet over millions of years, it builds an entire global mountain chain. Allow your breath to slow as you drift above the ridge, seeing it not as a line on a map, but as cliffs, summits, and deep, shadowed rifts. If we could somehow drain the oceans like a bathtub, the scene below would be astonishing. Towering ridges that rival the Himalayas, rugged peaks stabbing upward, wide valleys and canyons dropping away into darkness, all normally concealed beneath kilometers of water. It's astonishing to think that some parts of this hidden range rise high enough to break the surface and become islands and even pieces of continents. Iceland is one of these rare places, a cool, wind-swept plateau where you can actually walk along the top of the mid-Atlantic ridge itself. There, hot springs steam in the cold air, new crust is born beneath your feet, and the quiet processes that shape the deep ocean floor step briefly into the light, offering us a rare glimpse of seafloor creation above the waves. Now, just for a moment, let curiosity gently guide you in a different way. Forget the blue surface you know so well. Picture the planet with all its water gently lifted away, leaving only the bare rock of the seafloor exposed. The world is suddenly a landscape of mountains and canyons, ridges and trenches, stretching unbroken from pole to pole. Then, in your mind, let the ocean slowly pour back in. A thin, shining layer of water draped over this rugged stone skeleton, until you are once again floating in the dark, calm above unseen summits, ready to follow the ridge onward to the next quiet wonder waiting in the deep. From those unseen summits, our path now slips downward, leaving the long spine of the ridges and drifting toward the deepest cuts in the seafloor, where the ocean's quiet becomes almost unimaginable. As you picture yourself sinking, all you need to do is relax, letting the idea of depth stretch gently in your mind, like a slow, endless exhale of water and darkness. These are the ocean trenches, narrow, elongated scars in the crust of our planet, where great plates of rock meet and one slides beneath another, carrying seafloor down into the interior of the Earth. Hidden beneath the waves, they form submerged canyons thousands of kilometers long, their sides steeper than most cliffs on land, their floors lying far beyond the reach of sunlight, in a world that has almost never felt the presence of human eyes. The deepest of them all lies in the western Pacific, a crescent-shaped valley known as the Mariana Trench, and within it, a small, even deeper pocket called the Challenger Deep. This is the lowest point in the global ocean, plunging to around 11 kilometers below sea level, a depth so extreme that ordinary numbers begin to lose their meaning, and we have to turn to comparisons just to feel it. To think that if Mount Everest, the tallest mountain on the surface of our world, were gently set down into the Challenger Deep, its snow-bright summit would still rest beneath more than a kilometer of water, is quietly astonishing. The highest place we know on land would be swallowed by the sea and still not touch the top, a reminder that the ocean's vertical scale is every bit as grand as its endless blue horizons. Down there, the conditions are unlike anything we experience at the surface. The pressure is more than 1,000 times greater than the air pressing on you now. The weight of the water stacked above turning every square centimeter into a point of immense force. And yet, because water does not compress easily, It is a place of stillness rather than crushing drama. Temperatures hover near freezing. There is no natural light at all, and the darkness is so complete that only touch, chemistry, and the faintest glimmers of living light can define the world. It's astonishing to think that even here, in this deep, cold night, life persists. Strange, soft-bodied fishes, delicate sea cucumbers, and tiny crustaceans move slowly across the sediment and through the water. Their bodies adapted to pressures that would shatter ordinary structures, their metabolisms tuned to scarcity, their days measured not in hours of sunlight, but in the rare arrival of drifting food from far above. Only a handful of crewed vessels have ever reached these depths, each descent a careful, hours-long fall through layer after layer of water, until the surface becomes a memory, and the seafloor appears in the beams of a small artificial sun. We have mapped distant planets and traced the outlines of icy moons, yet parts of these trenches remain less explored than those alien worlds, their contours known mostly by echo and inference. As you imagine this, allow your breath to slow, and let curiosity gently guide you deeper still, because even in these extreme canyons, life has found quiet, resilient ways to exist. Ahead, beyond this calm, heavy darkness, lie places where the seafloor cracks open and glows, where vents and strange creatures light their own tiny stars in the water, waiting for us in the next part of our journey into the deep. From those silent canyons, you drift onward across the deep, and ahead the seafloor begins to change, not with noise or bright color, but with a faint suggestion of warmth rising through the darkness. Beneath you, far beneath the waves and far beyond the reach of sunlight, the ocean's crust is cracked and restless, and through those cracks, something remarkable is happening all the time. Along certain stretches of the mid-ocean ridges, where new seafloor slowly forms, and in some places near deep trenches where plates bend and sink, cold seawater seeps down into the rocks below. It travels through tiny fractures, sinking quietly into the crust of the planet, where hidden heat from Earth's interior waits. There, the water warms, then superheats, picking up metals and minerals until it becomes a dense, mineral-rich fluid. And eventually it finds a path back out, rushing upward to burst into the ocean as a hydrothermal vent. When this hot, chemical-laden water meets the near-freezing deep sea, something beautiful and strange appears. Chimney-like towers grow from the seafloor, built grain by grain as dissolved metals and particles suddenly solidify in the cold, forming dark, billowing plumes that rise like underwater smoke. These are the black smokers, tall and delicate, constantly rebuilt by the flow of water, their dark clouds curling gently into the surrounding abyss. To think that entire landscapes can grow from invisible chemistry, slowly assembling themselves in the quiet. Around these vents, the deep is not empty. It is a place of unexpected abundance, powered not by sunlight but by chemistry. Here, tiny bacteria use the energy locked in vent fluids, turning hydrogen sulfide and other chemicals into organic matter in a process called chemosynthesis, a kind of underwater gardening without any need for light. These microscopic builders form the base of a unique food web, feeding layers of creatures that have never seen the surface, yet depend entirely on this invisible harvest. If you picture the scene, all you need to do is relax into it. Giant tube worms, taller than a person, cluster around the chimneys, their white, sheath-like bodies anchored in the rock, their red plumes unfurled like slow, living flowers in the water. Vent crabs and pale shrimp pick their way carefully across the warm ground, while strange fish hover at the edges of the glow, moving in and out of the shimmering water as if patrolling a tiny, private world. Around them, the vast plain remains cold and dark, but here, in these pockets of warmth, life gathers closely, turning columns of chemistry into quiet neighborhoods. It's astonishing to think that on the same planet where forests breathe under open sky, there are also these deep, hidden cities of water and rock, thriving in total darkness. Allow your breath to slow as you imagine drifting past them, a silent visitor to an almost alien way of living that is still completely, softly Earth. And as we leave these black smokers behind, let curiosity gently guide you onward, because vents are only one hint of how many more secret worlds the ocean is still hiding, waiting just ahead in the dark. As we drift away from those shimmering vents, You can imagine the glow fading behind you until it becomes just another memory in the dark. And ahead of you spreads something even larger, even quieter than any single undersea city we have seen so far. Tonight, we are floating above an almost unknown planet, and all you need to do is relax as we turn our attention to how little of it we have truly touched. More than 80% of the world's ocean has never been mapped, observed, or explored in detail. More than 4/5 of this blue expanse remain unvisited, unmeasured, and unseen, hidden beneath the waves like pages of a book we have barely opened. To think that on a planet covered mostly in water, most of that water world is still a blank space on our maps is quietly astonishing. We sometimes say that we know the moon better than the deep sea, and there is truth in that gentle comparison. We have detailed maps of the moon's craters and even of parts of Mars, with their canyons and volcanoes carefully traced, while vast stretches of our own seafloor are sketched only in broad, blurry strokes. It's astonishing to think that, when you look up at the night sky, some of those distant, dusty places are charted more precisely than the dark plains that lie just a few kilometers beneath the surface of the ocean. The reasons are simple and soothing rather than mysterious in themselves. Water blocks and scatters light, so beyond the reach of sunlight our eyes and ordinary cameras see almost nothing. And the deeper we go, the heavier the water above becomes, pressing down with a slow, relentless weight. In the deepest trenches, the pressure is more than 1,000 times what you feel at the surface, and it is a place of crushing force that demands careful engineering, sturdy hulls, and very patient planning. Every expedition into the deep is technically challenging and quietly expensive, and the ocean is so vast that each dive explores only a tiny dot on an enormous map. Most of the seafloor remains a silent, untouched realm, where soft sediments settle grain by grain, and strange forms of life go about their unhurried routines without any awareness that a thinking species exists far above them in the light. You can imagine the ocean now as an inner space, an undiscovered planet folded neatly inside our own, hidden beneath a thin, shifting surface of waves and storms. Down there are mountains taller than anything on land, wide plains of mud and manganese nodules, and canyons that have never felt the beam of a human spotlight, all waiting in the darkness. Let curiosity gently guide you as you picture creatures drifting through that eternal night, their shapes and colors still unknown to us, their stories unwritten. Even so, with only these scattered glimpses, we have already learned enough to fill a long, sleepy journey. The slow pulse of deep currents, the quiet glow of living light, the steady rise and fall of tides that answer to the moon. As you continue to sink through this imagined water column, allow your breath to slow, because the few facts we do hold in our hands are already more than enough to carry you onward, into the next gentle chapter of the ocean's story. From that slow pulse of tides and distant currents, we meet one of the ocean's quietest wonders of scale, the blue whale. The largest animal known to have ever lived on this planet does not roar across the surface or thrash in the light. It moves like a drifting continent of muscle and bone, hidden beneath the waves, larger than any dinosaur that ever walked on land, yet gliding through water with a softness that feels almost impossible. A fully grown blue whale can stretch more than 30 meters from nose to tail, longer than a basketball court, longer than many of the ships that first tried to measure the ocean's depth. It can weigh as much as dozens of elephants combined, a single living body as heavy as a small village, and yet it is supported on all sides by the sea, rising and sinking with each slow breath. To think that such weight can float so gracefully is a reminder that in the ocean, gravity feels different, and size becomes something gentle. For all that size, blue whales are surprisingly quiet in the way they move. They swim with slow, deliberate strokes of their wide tails, each powerful motion sending them forward like a calm, steady heartbeat echoing through the water. They follow long migration routes that can span entire ocean basins, traveling from cold, rich feeding grounds to warmer, calmer breeding waters, tracing the hidden highways of temperature and light that circle our world in the deep. Their food is almost comically small compared to their bulk, tiny shrimp-like creatures called krill. Instead of teeth, blue whales carry flexible baleen plates that hang from the roof of the mouth like a curtain. They open wide, take in a huge mouthful of water crowded with krill, then press their tongue forward to push the water out through the baleen, straining out clouds of miniature prey. It's astonishing to think that the largest animal on Earth survives on some of the smallest drifting life the ocean offers. Yet the true voice of the blue whale is not in its footsteps through the water, but in its song. Blue whale calls are among the loudest sounds produced by any animal, but they are not piercing or sharp. They are low, mournful notes, often far below the range of human hearing, humming through the darkness like an organ playing in a distant room. These sounds can travel for hundreds, sometimes thousands, of kilometers through the deep, turning the ocean into a slow, resonant chamber where one whale can speak to another beyond any horizon. If you imagine yourself now, not just sinking through the water but resting in it, you can picture lying in the dark ocean, far below the surface, where there is no wind and no waves, only the soft pressure of water all around you. A distant blue whale calls, and you do not hear a clear note so much as feel a low vibration passing through your ribs and your spine, like a far-off drumbeat. A quiet reminder that other beings are out there, moving slowly through the blue. All you need to do is relax as that invisible sound washes through you, and let curiosity gently guide you to wonder how many conversations are drifting through the deep at any moment. In this silent, imagined world, even when the whales pass beyond hearing, the ocean itself is still traveling. Beyond the reach of sunlight, great currents continue their own migrations, looping around the planet in steady, predictable paths, carrying heat, salt, and stories from one side of the world to the other. And in the next part of our journey, we will follow those unseen rivers as they circle the globe. Those unseen rivers are flowing right now. Even as you lie here listening, a slow, steady circulation is turning the entire ocean, linking distant shores in one continuous loop of moving water. Within the ocean, there are currents so broad and unhurried that they feel less like streams and more like the gentle breathing of the planet itself. A global conveyor belt that carries heat, salt, and nutrients around the world, hidden beneath the waves and far beyond the reach of sunlight for most of its journey. Scientists sometimes call it thermohaline circulation, a phrase that simply means a movement driven by temperature and salt. But for us tonight, we can think of it as an underwater river system that never truly sleeps. Near the surface, especially in the North Atlantic, warm, salty water drifts slowly northward, having gathered heat under tropical light. And as it reaches colder regions, the air above chills it, the water becomes denser, and it begins to sink. To think that a change of just a few degrees and a slight difference in saltiness can send entire masses of water downward, tipping them over the edge into the deep, where they start a voyage that may last hundreds, even 1,000 years before they return to the surface somewhere far away. Once this water has slipped beneath the surface, it joins vast, dark rivers moving along the seafloor, sliding through deep basins and around submerged ridges in a slow procession that ignores the weather and the seasons above. It is a place of constancy and patience, where a single parcel of water can leave the North Atlantic, drift southward into the Southern Ocean, then curl into other basins, circling Antarctica, creeping into the Pacific and Indian Oceans, all in unbroken darkness, carrying with it the memory of the cold air and the dissolved gases it once held near the light. This quiet circulation helps smooth the climate of our world, carrying warmth from the tropics toward higher latitudes and returning cooler water back toward the equator, gently evening out temperature differences over long stretches of time. It's astonishing to think that the comfort of a mild coastal winter, or the persistence of sea ice in polar regions, is tied to these deep, invisible movements, as if the ocean were slowly rearranging its blankets so that no part of the planet is left entirely forgotten. As you imagine this, you might picture one small parcel of water, starting near the surface in the North Atlantic, feeling the wind exchanging heat with the sky, then becoming heavy enough to sink, falling not like a stone but like a drifting feather, slipping into the deep and beginning its silent, 1,000-year journey. It glides along the bottom, past canyons and seamounts, past the gentle glow of distant bioluminescent life, until in another ocean and another age, it is lifted back toward the surface by slow upwelling, rising once more to meet the sun. For a moment, let curiosity gently guide you inward instead, and notice your own breathing, the soft rise and fall in your chest, the way air enters, pauses, and leaves again. All you need to do is relax as you feel that quiet circulation in your body. Then imagine the planet doing something similar with its water, inhaling as surface currents sink, exhaling as deep currents rise, century after century, while you simply allow your breath to slow and drift with these ancient, hidden rivers. In the next part of our journey, we will follow where some of that upwelling leads, into places where returning deep water feeds blooms of tiny drifting plants that fill the ocean with color and light, and quietly help keep our atmosphere breathable. As those deep currents rise to meet the sunlit layers, another, quieter motion is always unfolding at the edge of the land, a slow lifting and lowering of the sea itself, so gentle that it can feel like the planet is breathing in sleep. All you need to do is relax and imagine the shoreline as a chest, rising and falling, as the ocean draws closer to the sand and then retreats over and over under the watchful glow of the moon. Tides are simply the regular rise and fall of sea level, yet they are guided by something far above the surface, by gravity reaching across space. The moon pulls on the oceans, and the water responds, stretching very slightly into two long, subtle bulges on opposite sides of the planet, while the sun adds its own softer tug, sometimes strengthening the effect, sometimes gently opposing it. To think that the quiet movement of water at your feet is linked to the pull of distant rock and light in the sky can make the whole world feel like a single, connected body. As Earth turns, different coasts slowly pass through these bulges of water, so a single beach will move from low tide to high tide and back again in a calm, predictable rhythm. In most places, this happens twice each day, like a steady heartbeat of the shore, and for millions of years, waves have been rising a little higher and then falling away again, tracing patient lines across rock, sand, and salt marsh. It is a place of constant change, and yet the timing is so regular that ancient navigators and modern fishers alike can read it almost as easily as a clock. Picture a quiet shoreline at night, the sky deep and dark, the moon casting a pale path of light across the water, while small waves slide in and out with unhurried persistence. 1 hour, they reach only halfway up the beach, whispering over pebbles. A few hours later, they creep much higher, lapping at driftwood and seaweed, almost touching the dunes before slowly withdrawing again. If you listen closely in your imagination, the pattern begins to sound like breathing, the ocean inhaling as it rises, exhaling as it falls, while you allow your breath to slow and match its pace. Many forms of life along the coast live by this watery clock, following the moon more than the sun. Crabs emerge from their burrows to forage at low tide, then hide again as the water returns. Certain fish slip into flooded salt marshes only when the tide is high enough to cover the grass. Shorebirds time their feeding to the moments when buried worms and clams are exposed. For them, time is written not in numbers, but in the height of the water and the scent of wet sand, a schedule hidden beneath the waves rather than printed on a watch. It is astonishing to think that this gentle, daily breathing of the ocean has been shaping the edges of continents for ages, grain by grain, smoothing some coasts and carving others into intricate inlets and bays. And just as tides, waves, and currents sculpt the visible shore, they are also at work beyond the reach of sunlight, quietly rearranging underwater forests of kelp and delicate coral reefs, creating shifting mosaics of habitat where the next part of our journey will drift into the living architecture that rises from the seafloor like submerged, ever-changing cities. From those submerged cities, we drift sideways now, into something that feels quieter and more familiar, as if a forest from the surface has been gently lowered into the sea and taught to sway with the tides instead of the wind. Hidden beneath the waves along rocky coasts, vast kelp forests rise from the seafloor, turning cold, clear water into long, echoing underwater groves. Kelp is not a tree at all, but a kind of large brown algae, yet it builds something that feels like woodland in slow motion. From the rocks below, long, ribbon-like fronds stretch upward, sometimes tens of meters, reaching toward the surface until they form a floating canopy. Sunlight filters down through this living ceiling in soft, greenish beams, so that even on a bright day, the world inside a kelp forest feels hushed and dim, a gentle underwater dusk. Instead of roots, Kelp holds on with structures called holdfasts, tangled and knotted like a wooden hand gripping stone. These holdfasts do not drink in water or nutrients the way roots do. They simply anchor the kelp against the pull of waves and currents. Along each frond, small gas-filled bladders act like tiny balloons, lifting the long leaves upward so they can catch the light, letting the whole forest rise and fall and sway, as if the ocean itself is breathing around it. If you imagine standing in a quiet grove of tall trees while a soft wind moves through the branches, you already know the feeling of a kelp forest. Here, though, every movement is slowed by water. Each frond bends and curls with the passing swell, then slowly unfurls again, a continuous, rhythmic dance. To think that this gentle motion can go on hour after hour, season after season, is calming in itself. All you need to do is relax and allow your breath to slow as you picture it. Within this three-dimensional maze of stems and leaves, life gathers. Schools of fish weave between the fronds like flocks of birds among branches. Sea urchins graze along the rocks below, and sea otters wrap themselves in kelp at the surface, using the floating canopy as a soft anchor while they rest. It is a place of shelter and of feeding, where tiny crustaceans hide in the shadows and larger hunters move carefully through the greenlit corridors, each layer of the forest offering a different kind of home. Imagine yourself drifting slowly through this underwater grove at dusk, neutrally buoyant, the world around you tinted in deep greens and soft gold. Shafts of light slant down from the surface, broken into shimmering columns by the moving leaves, while distant waves roll overhead like muted thunder you can only feel, not hear. Fish pass by in loose, quiet groups, disappearing and reappearing between the fronds, and the whole scene seems to pulse with a calm, tidal rhythm that lets curiosity gently guide you without ever disturbing your rest. It's astonishing to think that these are not the only forests the ocean holds. Elsewhere, coral polyps build reefs from living stone, stacking their tiny skeletons into cliffs and towers, and in shallower, sandy places, long blades of seagrass form drifting meadows that quietly exhale oxygen into the water. As we leave the kelp behind, another kind of underwater landscape waits just ahead, more intricate and colorful, rising from the seafloor in shapes that almost seem to glow from within, inviting us deeper into the next hidden garden of the sea. These are not just rocks rising from the seafloor. As we drift closer, you begin to see that this next hidden garden is alive, every surface breathing, every curve and tower slowly built by countless tiny mouths. All you need to do is relax as we approach, letting the colors soften at the edges in your mind, while this stone-like city quietly reveals what it truly is. Coral reefs are constructed by animals so small you could balance one on the tip of a finger, if you could somehow lift it from the water without harm. Each one is a coral polyp, a simple, soft-bodied creature related to jellyfish and sea anemones, with a ring of gentle tentacles surrounding a single opening. Over years, and then centuries, these polyps secrete a hard skeleton of calcium carbonate beneath themselves, adding tiny layers of mineral, one atop another, until their collective work becomes a solid framework that feels like rock, even though it was grown rather than carved. To think that entire reef systems, stretching for hundreds of kilometers, come from these quiet builders is calming in its own way. A single generation of polyps adds only a thin sheet, but as they live, die, and are replaced by new polyps settling on the old foundations, their skeletons stack into walls, arches, and ledges, turning flat seafloor into a three-dimensional city that rises toward the surface light. It is a place of endless hiding spots and gentle slopes, a kind of submerged mountain range made not by earthquakes, but by patient, living mouths. Inside each tiny coral body, another life form is at work. Most reef-building corals host microscopic algae called zooxanthellae, tucked safely within their tissues. These algae use sunlight to photosynthesize, turning light and dissolved nutrients into sugars, and they share much of this energy with their coral hosts. In return, the coral offers a protected home and a steady supply of carbon dioxide and mineral-rich water. This partnership paints many corals in warm browns, golds, and greens, and when light passes through the shallow water at just the right angle, those colors seem to glow softly, as if the city itself is lit from within. As evening falls over the reef, the mood changes, but it does not become less alive. Fish that spent the day weaving through branching corals retreat into crevices, pressing themselves into narrow cracks where predators are unlikely to follow, while others hover almost motionless above the sand, gently finning as they drift toward their own version of sleep. Soft corals and feathery sea fans sway in the slower currents, extending their tentacles into the darkening water to catch passing plankton. And here and there, a shrimp's shell or a snail's rim catches the last traces of fatting light. When the sun finally slips below the horizon, a different kind of brightness begins. Tiny bioluminescent plankton drift in from the open ocean, and when a fish flicks its tail or a wave brushes over the reef crest, they flash with delicate sparks of blue-green light that fade almost as quickly as they appear. It's astonishing to think that in this growing darkness, living light becomes one of the main ways creatures sense and signal to one another, each gentle glow a quiet message in the water. Although coral reefs carpet less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support an estimated quarter of all marine species, an astonishing density of life in such a small fraction of the planet's water world. Tiny fish grow up here in sheltered nooks before venturing into the open ocean. Larger animals return to feed among the coral towers, and even passing visitors, like sea turtles and reef sharks, treat these structures as rest stops in the vast blue. If you allow your breath to slow for a moment and picture the reef from above, you can almost see it as a bustling city square set within an otherwise empty plain. Hidden beneath the waves in tropical shallows, these bright reefs are the coral landscapes we most often imagine, yet they are only part of the story. Far beyond the reach of sunlight, in cold, dark water, there are deep reefs and cold water corals that build their own stony gardens without the help of algae, pale structures rising in silence where no human eyes have seen them directly. Let curiosity gently guide you as we leave this glowing city behind and begin to drift toward those deeper, darker realms, where coral and other strange forms of life continue the work of building in almost complete darkness. Those deeper, darker realms are not empty at all. As we sink away from the bright reef you've just visited in your mind, the colors fade, the water cools, and the last hints of sunlit turquoise dissolve into a slow, velvety blue. All you need to do is relax as we drift downward, leaving the busy surface world above, and let curiosity gently guide you toward a different kind of reef, hidden beneath the waves, where the rules you know begin to change. We often imagine coral as something that belongs to warm, shallow lagoons, glowing islands of life just below the surface. Yet not all coral reefs live in sunlit water. Some of the most intricate coral structures on our planet rise in silence from the deep, in places where no daylight ever reaches. Beyond the reach of sunlight, hundreds, sometimes thousands of meters down, the water is cold, the pressure immense, and the darkness almost complete, but still, tiny coral polyps patiently build. In these cold, deep regions, coral cannot lean on the partnership that supports tropical reefs. There is no bright light for photosynthetic algae to harvest, no internal gardens of microscopic plants trading sugar for shelter. Instead, these corals reach out with delicate tentacles and feed directly from the passing water, capturing drifting plankton and tiny particles, one quiet mouthful at a time. It is a place of slow, steady meals, where every flake of organic matter that falls from above becomes precious. To think that, in such darkness, great structures still grow. Many cold water corals form branching, skeletal thickets that can tower several meters above the seafloor, pale frameworks that resemble leafless trees in a winter forest. Around them, fish and invertebrates find shelter, weaving between the branches, resting in small hollows, laying eggs in sheltered nooks. Where the bottom might otherwise be bare mud or scattered stones, these reefs become quiet neighborhoods, turning empty ground into a three-dimensional world of hiding places and gentle currents. It's astonishing to think how recently we even learned they were there. For most of human history, these deep coral forests were completely unknown, their existence hinted at only when broken fragments came up in fishing nets. Now, with submersibles and remotely operated vehicles, we can glide through them, cameras glowing softly in the darkness, revealing ivory towers of coral, orange and pink fans, and swirling clouds of deep-sea life suspended in the water. Yet more than 80% of the ocean remains unmapped in detail, and vast stretches of the deep seafloor, including many potential reefs, lie unseen. As you imagine these cold, branching gardens far below, allow your breath to slow, and picture the way deep currents slide past them, carrying food, carrying larvae, carrying whispers from distant seas. These same invisible flows shape other hidden landscapes as well. Not only forests of coral, but also open ocean deserts where nutrients are scarce, and unexpected oases where life suddenly blooms. In the drifting dark between coasts and continents, the ocean quietly rearranges its riches, and ahead of us, there are still empty-looking waters that conceal their own surprises. Out here, far from any shore, the ocean can seem perfectly even, a continuous sheet of blue stretching to every horizon. Yet hidden beneath the waves, the pattern of life is anything but smooth, with crowded gatherings in some places and long, quiet stretches in others. When you look down from above, the water may appear uniform, but in the deep language of nutrients and currents, this part of the world is mottled and patchy, full of invisible borders. Ocean deserts form where the water is clear, calm, and strangely poor in the ingredients that tiny plants need. So even though the sun pours down its light, there is little for plankton to grow on and life thins out. In the centers of the great spinning gyres, where currents circle slowly like a vast, lazy wheel, the surface is often a deep, pure blue, a sign that there are fewer microscopic drifters to scatter the light, fewer fish to chase them, and fewer larger hunters above. Along certain coasts and in narrow bands that snake across the sea, the opposite happens, and it is a place of abundance. There, winds and the turning of our planet tilt the surface water aside, and from the deep, darker layers, cold, nutrient-rich water rises in a process called upwelling, carrying with it the raw materials for life. To think that a gentle upward drift of water can feed entire regions. Yet that is what happens as phytoplankton bloom in soft green clouds, feeding shoals of fish, drawing in whales, and gathering seabirds into vast, wheeling flocks. If you were drifting here in a small boat or simply floating in your imagination, you might cross one of these unseen edges without noticing at first, moving from a region where the water looks faintly green and alive with specks of plankton into a clearer, bluer zone where everything feels quieter. One moment, the sea around you is busy, full of darting silver flashes and distant bird calls, and then, over only a few miles, the color deepens, the shapes below you fade, and the ocean takes on the calm, empty look of a desert scene from the sky. There is a kind of comfort in knowing that these oases and deserts are always shifting, sliding slowly with the seasons and the currents, so that no place is forever empty and no place is forever crowded. Let curiosity gently guide you for a moment to notice how this mirrors your own inner ocean, how some nights your thoughts feel like crowded coasts, noisy and bright, and other nights they open into wide, blue spaces with very few ripples at all. When you sense one of those invisible boundaries inside you, all you need to do is relax and allow your breath to slow. And like the sea, you quietly rearrange what rises to the surface. As we drift onward, these patterns of plenty and scarcity will continue to shape the journey. And ahead, as the light begins to fade with depth, we will follow the last traces of these surface oases downward, into layers where the water grows dim and the rules of life change again, beyond the reach of sunlight. As the last traces of daylight vanish and the water around you slips fully into blue-gray twilight, another rhythm begins to stir, hidden beneath the waves, as if the whole interior of the ocean is quietly taking a breath of its own while you allow your breath to slow. You are sinking into dimmer layers now, but somewhere below, an immense, patient movement is preparing to rise. Every night, as the surface grows dark, billions of small animals begin to travel upward together. Tiny zooplankton, paper-thin crustaceans, transparent worms, and shy, silvery fish leave the deeper water and drift toward the surface, in a slow ascent called diel vertical migration. It is not a rare event or a scattered pattern. It is the largest daily movement of animals on our planet, measured not in footsteps, but in sheer numbers and living mass. To think that this vast commute happens mostly unseen is quietly astonishing. From a boat, the ocean might look calm and still, just a dark sheet of water under the stars. Yet beneath, layer after layer of life is rising, like invisible tides of bodies. It's astonishing to think that more animals may be traveling up and down in this nightly journey than in all the herds and flocks on land combined, and almost no one at the surface ever notices. These travelers climb under cover of darkness because the night itself is their shield. Near the surface, microscopic plants called phytoplankton float in the upper light, turning sunlight into food all day long. And when evening comes, the zooplankton and small fish move up to graze on this drifting garden. If they lingered in the light of day, larger predators would see them easily. So at dawn they retreat again, sinking back into deeper, darker water where shadows and distance offer safety. You can imagine the whole ocean as a slow, living elevator, moving not with metal doors and bright buttons, but with soft pulses of fins and feathery antennae. As the night deepens, countless small bodies drift upward together like dust motes rising in a beam of light. Only here the beam is reversed, and the glow is fading from above. Then, as the first hint of morning begins to touch the surface, that cloud of life gently settles downward again, a quiet snowfall of creatures returning to the deep. Let curiosity gently guide you as you picture this vertical world, beyond the reach of sunlight, filled with migrations that never touch a shoreline. All you need to do is relax while this hidden elevator continues its endless cycle, up and down, night after night, year after year. And as these tiny beings move vertically through the water, some larger wanderers, like sea turtles, tunas, and even certain sharks, are gliding horizontally across entire ocean basins with the same quiet precision, setting the stage for our next gentle step through this moving, living sea. Those larger wanderers include some of the ocean's oldest navigators. Among them, green sea turtles move with a calm determination that feels almost timeless, as if they remember paths written into the water long before we began to map the world. As you picture them gliding through the deep blue, all you need to do is relax and let curiosity gently guide you across those same invisible routes. Green sea turtles, and their cousins like loggerheads and leatherbacks, can cross entire ocean basins, traveling thousands of kilometers between feeding grounds and nesting beaches with a precision that seems almost impossible. They leave sheltered coastal meadows of seagrass, slip into the open water, and vanish beyond the horizon. Yet years later, they will appear again at almost the exact same stretch of sand. To think that a creature can read the ocean so well, without charts or instruments, is quietly astonishing. Scientists believe these ancient mariners carry a kind of living map inside them, one that is tuned to subtle cues we can barely sense. The Earth's magnetic field, which wraps our planet like a gentle, invisible net, seems to provide them with a built-in compass, and perhaps even a rough sense of latitude and longitude. Wave direction near the surface, the angle at which swells roll in toward land, and faint chemical signatures dissolved in the water may all combine into a guiding pattern, hidden beneath the waves yet perfectly clear to a turtle's patient mind. When a female turtle finally returns to nest, the journey ends in a scene that is almost ritual in its slowness. Under the cover of darkness, when the beach is cool and quiet, she rises from the water and begins to haul her heavy body up the sand, each movement deliberate, unhurried, as if she is listening to the night. She pauses, chooses a spot above the reach of the tide, and begins to dig, scooping away the grains with her back flippers until a deep, rounded nest opens beneath her. In this hollow, she lowers her body and releases dozens, sometimes more than 100 soft, round eggs, each one a small, silent promise of future life. She covers them carefully, pressing the sand flat, erasing almost every sign that anything is hidden below the surface. Then she turns, and with the same steady effort, she slips back toward the dark water, disappearing into the gentle hiss of waves before the first light of dawn. Her hatchlings will not be so calm. Weeks later, when the sand has warmed them enough, they break free all at once, a flurry of tiny bodies in the night, scrambling down the beach in a frantic rush toward the ocean, drawn by the faint brightness of starlight and moonlight reflected on the water. Many will not make it, but those that do will trade that first wild dash for a lifetime of slow, steady travel, spending decades gliding through open water, riding currents, grazing on seagrass beds, and crossing the deep in long, quiet arcs that circle the planet. It's astonishing to think that these turtles are reading patterns we can barely imagine, and they are not alone in this hidden skill. Sharks, too, appear to sense the Earth's magnetic field and faint chemical trails, following them like invisible roads as they patrol the ocean's highways. And in the next stretch of our journey, we will drift a little closer to those silent, gliding shadows. Sharks have been here a very long time. Long before dinosaurs walked on land, long before flowers bloomed, they were already moving through the ancient seas of our planet. And tonight, as you listen, their distant descendants are still gliding through the same great body of water that wraps around the world. To think that sharks have been swimming in Earth's oceans for more than 400 million years is to feel a different kind of time, slow and steady, measured not in days, but in tides and migrations, in the quiet rise and fall of generations hidden beneath the waves. Over that vast span, they have branched into a wide variety of shapes and sizes, from small, shy species that could rest easily in your arms, to large, open ocean hunters whose long, swept fins carry them calmly across entire basins. Their power is not just in teeth or muscle, it is in their senses. Sharks live in a world of signals carried by water, and their bodies are tuned to that flowing information in ways we are only beginning to understand. Their sense of smell is so acute that they can detect tiny amounts of chemicals in the water, a faint trace of fish or plankton drifting on a current, like a soft scent on a breeze. They hear low, distant vibrations that our ears would never notice, the slow thump of waves on a reef, or the gentle struggle of a fish far away in the darkness. Along their heads and snouts, they carry special organs with a quiet, almost musical name, the ampullae of Lorenzini. These tiny gel-filled pores allow them to sense weak electric fields, the faint pulses produced by the muscles and hearts of other animals. It is a place of invisible patterns, where a hidden crab, a buried ray, or a resting fish glows not with light, but with electricity against the background of the deep. Most sharks are not interested in humans at all. They pass through their own world, focused on the signals that matter to them, playing essential roles in maintaining healthy marine ecosystems. By preying mostly on weak or sick animals, they help keep fish populations resilient, trimming away what the ocean cannot easily support and balancing food webs that stretch from the surface to far below, where sunlight cannot reach. You can imagine one now if you like, and all you need to do is relax as you picture it. A shark moves through dim water, perhaps in the blue twilight just beyond the reach of sunlight, perhaps in the hazier green near a distant shore. It barely moves its fins, body held in effortless balance as water slides past its skin. Ahead, there is no flash of color, no obvious motion, only the faint electrical heartbeat of a hidden fish tucked into the sand. The shark turns, not with urgency, but with smooth, deliberate grace, following that quiet signal as easily as we might follow a lantern's glow. As you allow your breath to slow, you might notice how this single hunter is part of something larger, a living thread woven into the ocean's wider sensory web, which itself rests on an even deeper rhythm. Beyond the movements of fins and the flicker of electric fields, the water itself is slowly circulating, rising and sinking, evaporating into the sky and returning as rain, a planetary scale heartbeat that connects sea, clouds, rivers, and the sleeping land. And in the next part of our journey, we will drift outward to feel that slow pulse of the ocean's endless water cycle. That slow pulse begins with something almost too gentle to notice. As the sun lays a soft band of light across the ocean's surface, it warms only the thinnest skin of water, and from that calm boundary between sea and sky, tiny molecules begin to slip away, rising invisibly into the air in a quiet process we call evaporation. Most of the water vapor in Earth's atmosphere comes from this simple act of warming and release. The ocean stretches over most of our planet, so even though each departing molecule is unimaginably small, together they form a vast, drifting veil of moisture, lifting from waves and from still lagoons, from polar seas and from warm tropical shallows, all joining the same invisible river in the sky. As this water vapor rises higher, the air around it cools, and something delicate begins to happen. The invisible becomes visible. Vapor slows, clings to tiny particles of dust and salt, and condenses into droplets and ice crystals, gathering themselves into clouds that bloom and fade above the surface, sometimes bright and sunlit, sometimes dark with the promise of rain, always moving, always reshaping the sky. These clouds are quiet travelers. They drift across oceans and continents, carried by winds that circle the world. And when the conditions are right, the droplets within them grow heavy enough to fall, returning to the planet as rain or snow, as mist on a mountain or a soft drizzle over the open sea, completing a cycle that has been repeating for billions of years without hurry and without pause. Without the ocean's steady evaporation, this cycle would slowly weaken. Rivers that carve deep valleys, lakes that mirror the sky, and the groundwater hidden beneath our feet all depend on repeated gifts of rain. And over long stretches of time, without that constant skyward journey from the sea, many of the landscapes we know would dry and fade into something entirely different, almost unrecognizable. You can imagine yourself lying on a quiet beach, the sand still warm from the day, watching clouds form and drift overhead. All you need to do is relax as you picture them, soft shapes sliding across the blue, knowing that each one is made of water that was once part of the ocean, perhaps just beyond the horizon, and that one day, in a week or a year or a century, it will return again as a raindrop or a flake of snow. Here is a small pattern to interrupt the drift of your thoughts, just for a moment. You, too, are mostly water. It's astonishing to think that many of the molecules flowing quietly through your veins have likely passed through the ocean countless times, risen into clouds, fallen as rain, soaked into soil, and been taken up by roots and rivers before becoming part of your body. Allow your breath to slow as you rest with that idea, that you are not separate from this slow planetary cycle, but held within it, a temporary arrangement of the same ancient water that moves from sea to sky and back again. And as we continue our journey, we will follow that water inland to see how the ocean's breath shapes rivers, ice, and the sleeping land. As that last thought of being made from ancient rain and sea settles in your mind, we can gently change the scale again, lifting our view from rivers and clouds back to the whole planet, as if you were drifting slowly away from Earth in the quiet of space. All you need to do is relax as we zoom out in imagination, watching the swirling blues and whites of the ocean and atmosphere blend into a single, breathing world. Now picture every drop of water on this planet gathered together, not just the ocean, but the ice locked in glaciers, the lakes and rivers that thread across the land, the groundwater hidden beneath our feet, even the thin veil of moisture in the air, all collected into one perfect floating sphere. Scientists tell us that this globe of water would be about 1,400 kilometers across, a crystal ball smaller than the Earth itself. Yet it is a place of almost unimaginable depth and volume, holding everything that ever flowed through a cloud or a vein or a wave. To think that if we set aside the salty ocean for a moment and gathered only the liquid freshwater we can drink and use, that second sphere would shrink to something far more modest, only a few hundred kilometers wide, a small bead compared with the first. It is tiny beside the vastness of the planet, and it's astonishing to think that this delicate droplet must serve every river, every wetland, every forest, and every person, reminding us, softly, how precious and limited our accessible freshwater really is. Within these imagined globes, almost all of the liquid water still belongs to the sea, because the ocean holds about 97% of Earth's liquid water, a single, continuous reservoir that wraps the world. The ocean does not merely sit there. It absorbs heat slowly in summer and releases it slowly in winter, smoothing out seasons, guiding winds, and feeding the slow global conveyor belt of currents that carry warmth and nutrients from surface to deep, and back again, hidden beneath the waves and beyond the reach of sunlight. If you like, you can let curiosity gently guide you and shrink that planetary sphere down until it fits into your hand, a clear glass marble resting in your palm. As you gaze into it in your mind, allow your breath to slow, and imagine that when you look closer, the smooth glass dissolves into rolling waves, drifting ice, falling rain, and the quiet darkness of the deep ocean, where faint bioluminescent sparks blink like distant stars. Inside that single sphere of water, there are rhythms layered upon rhythms. Slow swells crossing basins, tides leaning toward the moon, storms that rumble across the surface, and even deep, traveling sounds from whales and distant quakes that echo through the darkness, shaping the experience of life in every hidden corner. And as we drift further inward, we will begin to listen more closely to those rhythms, following them down into the zones where light fades, creatures glow, and the ocean's heartbeat becomes even slower and more mysterious. As we follow those rhythms downward, the ocean slowly changes from a world of shifting light to a world of sound. Sunlight can only reach about 200 meters into the water, and below that the glow fades into blue twilight, then into complete darkness. Yet sound continues on, traveling far and efficiently through the deep, turning this hidden realm into a place where hearing often matters more than seeing. It is a quiet world, but not a silent one. All you need to do is relax for a moment and imagine that, beyond the reach of sunlight, the ocean is filled with a continuous, low background hum. Far above you, waves crash on distant shores, each foaming impact sending a soft, muffled thud that can be heard far offshore, while rain on the surface paints the sea with countless tiny taps, like fingers on a drum stretched across the planet. Even the frozen edges of the world add their voices. Shifting ice groans and creaks, long, drawn-out tones that vibrate through the water for many kilometers, and undersea earthquakes send deep, rolling rumbles that can circle entire ocean basins. To think that a single event on the seafloor can be heard halfway across the world is quietly astonishing. Yet for the creatures who live here, this slow, distant thunder is simply part of the everyday soundscape. Closer to where you float in the darkness, the sounds become more personal and intricate. Whale songs rise and fall in haunting phrases, some so low and deep that you feel them more than you hear them, spreading for hundreds, sometimes thousands of kilometers through the water. Dolphins add quick, precise clicks and whistles, bright sparks of sound they use to navigate, to recognize one another, and to find food in the dark. Around rocky reefs and sandy bottoms, fish contribute their own gentle chorus. Some grunt or drum with special muscles, others rasp or croak, so that what seems like still water becomes a soft chatter of life hidden beneath the waves. In warm shallows, clouds of tiny snapping shrimp create a constant crackle, each tiny claw snap like the pop of a distant ember, merging into a steady hiss that scientists sometimes compare to underwater rain. If you imagine yourself floating here, eyes closed, you are surrounded by these layers of sound, faint calls and soft rumbles overlapping like the distant murmur of a city at night heard through a thick wall. Allow your breath to slow as you picture that dark water holding you up, every small noise softened by distance, every echo stretched out in time, until the whole ocean feels like a single, slow, breathing instrument. Yet even in this world of sound and motion, there are places where the noise falls away, where currents weaken and life moves so slowly it almost seems to stop. And as we drift onward, we will visit those profound stillnesses, where the ocean's quiet becomes deeper than anything we know at the surface. In those still pockets of the deep, beyond the reach of sunlight, time itself seems to loosen. And as you drift there in your mind, you may notice how everything slows until even a single heartbeat feels spacious and calm. All you need to do is relax as we sink a little farther into this quiet world, letting the rush of the day fall away while the ocean shows us what it means to live in slow time. In the deep sea, where food is scarce and seasons barely change, many creatures grow at a pace that feels almost motionless compared to the hurried lives near the surface. The water is cold, the darkness unbroken, and it is a place of remarkable stability, so there is no need to hurry, no race to bloom and fade with each passing year. To think that, in these conditions, some animals stretch their lifespans not just across decades, but across centuries, turning a single lifetime into a long, unhurried conversation with the ocean itself. Some of the oldest beings on our planet live hidden beneath the waves as deep-sea corals, their branching skeletons rising slowly from the seafloor like frozen trees of stone. Many of these colonies began growing before entire human civilizations were born, adding only a thin layer each year, recording tiny changes in temperature and chemistry in bands like tree rings. When scientists study them, they can read past currents and ancient storms written in calcium and time, And it is astonishing to think that a coral you imagine now might have already been standing in the darkness when distant glaciers still covered the land. Down here, low temperatures and limited food reshape every part of life, turning motion into something precious and carefully measured. Deep-sea fishes may take decades just to mature, drifting through their youth in slow arcs, conserving energy with every lazy beat of their fins. They move infrequently, feed when they can, and reproduce rarely, their lives stretched thin but steady, like a quiet line of light across an otherwise dark horizon, reminding us that survival can be patient and almost perfectly still. You can picture a single coral colony on a lonely ridge, standing in the dark for centuries, perhaps for 1,000 years or more. It feels only the soft brush of a passing current now and then, the faint pressure of water moving around its branches, and the gentle settling of marine snow as tiny flakes of organic dust drift down from the surface world above. Allow your breath to slow as you imagine those slow, silent decades piling up, one after another, while small fish shelter in its arms and shy invertebrates tuck themselves into its folds, all of them sharing a life measured not in days, but in ages. While this deep realm moves at the pace of glaciers and quiet hearts, the ocean's upper layers live by a different rhythm, where sunlight, wind, and weather dance together in restless patterns. Hidden beneath the waves, time may stretch and soften, but at the surface, waves and storms can reshape entire coastlines, carving and building in powerful, repeating pulses. And as we rise toward that brighter boundary, we'll find that even the most dramatic changes follow their own slow, hypnotic beat. Up here, at the restless boundary between water and air, the ocean shows one of its simplest and most hypnotic tricks: the wave. Most of the waves you see marching toward a shore begin as nothing more than wind sliding across the surface, its touch transferring energy into the water, teasing tiny ripples that, given time and distance, can grow into rolling swells and, finally, into foaming breakers that fold and sigh against the land. The process is quiet but relentless. A stronger, steadier wind blows over a patch of sea, and each small crest passes a little of that borrowed energy along, so that the pattern lengthens, the peaks rise, and the troughs deepen, until a whole patch of ocean is breathing in slow, organized pulses. It is a place of moving geometry, where invisible lines of force become long bands of light and shadow, sliding across the surface of our planet, as if the ocean itself were taking measured, unhurried breaths. To think that a storm in one corner of the world can send its signature halfway around the globe is strangely comforting. Far from the clouds and lightning that created them, waves smooth themselves into long, regular swells, each one spaced like the ticking of a very slow clock, rolling across entire ocean basins. Days later, they arrive at distant coasts as gentle, repeating patterns, so even a calm beach at sunset may be feeling the softened echo of a storm you will never see. Yet, for all this motion, the disturbance runs surprisingly shallow. Beneath even the roughest storms, the deep ocean remains relatively calm and unaffected, with only the upper layers feeling the immediate turbulence of wind and weather. A ship may pitch and rise on chaotic seas, while a few hundred meters down, beyond the reach of sunlight and spray, the water glides in slower, more patient currents, and on the abyssal plain far below, sediment falls in quiet, steady snow. You might imagine yourself indoors on a stormy night, windows closed, a roof above you, listening to rain on glass and the distant rush of waves. Outside, the world may feel wild, but inside, all you need to do is relax, allow your breath to slow, and remember that, hidden beneath the waves, the deep remains as still and dark as ever, its creatures moving to rhythms that ignore the passing weather. For a moment, let curiosity gently guide you in a different direction. Notice any sounds around you right now: the hum of a fan, distant traffic, the faint murmur of voices, or perhaps almost complete silence. Treat each sound like a surface wave, rising and fading at the edge of your awareness, while deeper down, your own quiet attention rests undisturbed, like deep water under a passing squall. It's astonishing to think that, just as the ocean's surface can be restless while its depths stay calm, your mind can let thoughts and noises drift by without needing to follow them. As we sink back beneath the surface again, we'll leave the bright, shifting skin of waves behind and move into the quieter layers below, where light thins, colors fade, and the ocean begins to reveal a different kind of stillness. As we leave that fatting band of color behind, we enter a quieter world where the ocean begins to slow down and shrink in scale, not because there is less life, but because so much of it has become almost invisible to the naked eye. All you need to do is relax as we pause here, in the gentle dimness below the surface, and let curiosity gently guide you toward the smallest drifters that hold this vast blue system together. The word plankton comes from a Greek term meaning drifter, and that gives you a simple way to imagine them, not as strong swimmers with destinations and plans, but as passengers, carried wherever the water chooses to flow. Plankton are defined not by what they are, but by how they move, or rather, how they cannot move against the push of currents. And this drifting category includes everything from single microscopic cells to delicate rice grain-sized animals, and even the tiny larval stages of larger creatures. Within this drifting community, there is a greenish, glowing engine of life called phytoplankton, the plant-like plankton that use sunlight to photosynthesize. Each cell is so small that millions can fit in a single drop of seawater, yet together they form the base of many marine food webs, quietly turning light, water, and dissolved nutrients into living tissue that will feed almost everything else in the ocean, from minuscule grazers to enormous whales. It is a place of almost unimaginable productivity. To think that these fragile specks floating near the surface produce a significant portion of the oxygen in Earth's atmosphere, the very air you are breathing right now as you allow your breath to slow. Every calm inhale you take is connected, in a long and winding chain, to sunlit plankton blooms far out at sea, pulsing with color that satellites can see from space. Drifting among them are zooplankton, the animal plankton, tiny transparent grazers such as copepods and krill that nibble on phytoplankton or on one another, turning plant energy into moving, swimming bodies. These minute animals, many no larger than a grain of sand, in turn become food for fish, for the filter-feeding giants that sieve them from the water, and for seabirds that dive from the surface, tying the hidden abundance of the ocean to the open air above. If you imagine a single drop of seawater lifted gently from the ocean and placed under a microscope, that drop becomes a swirling galaxy of tiny shapes, each one drifting, spinning, or pulsing in its own slow rhythm. Glassy diatoms slide past like ornate lanterns, their silica shells etched with patterns. Slender flagellates twirl using whip-like tails. Transparent larvae of crabs, starfish, and snails hover like ghosts, all moving together in an unseen dance that fills the water column from top to bottom. It's astonishing to think that, while we often picture the ocean as empty blue space, it is, in many places, as crowded as a forest, only at a scale too small for our eyes to notice. Just as these tiny drifters support layer upon layer of life above them, the ocean as a whole quietly supports our own lives in ways we rarely see. And as we drift deeper into the dimmer zones below, we'll begin to feel how that support continues even beyond the reach of sunlight. Even beyond the reach of sunlight, the ocean is still quietly breathing. While you rest here at the surface, following the slow rise and fall of your own chest, an entire hidden system is rising and falling too, drawing in gases, transforming them, and sending them back out into the world above. With every relaxed inhalation you take, you are sharing a connection with countless tiny drifters in the sea. Through photosynthesis, marine plants and phytoplankton absorb carbon dioxide dissolved in the water and release oxygen, flooding the upper ocean with invisible bubbles of possibility that eventually mix into the air. To think that more than half of the oxygen in the atmosphere may come from these microscopic organisms, floating in gentle light near the surface, is to realize that each quiet breath you take tonight is, in a way, a gift from the ocean. As you allow your breath to slow, you can imagine the ocean itself breathing just as slowly. The water at the surface absorbs carbon dioxide from the air molecule by molecule, holding it close like a calm, steady lung. Some of that carbon stays in the sunlit water, some is carried sideways by currents that sweep around our planet, and some begins a far longer journey downward, into colder, deeper layers where it may remain for centuries. This vast reservoir of dissolved carbon helps buffer the atmosphere, softening and slowing changes that might otherwise happen too quickly for life to adapt. Hidden beneath the waves, an even more patient process is always underway. When phytoplankton, tiny animals and larger creatures live out their days and finally drift down as delicate flakes of organic matter, they carry carbon with them. A gentle, continuous snow of fragments and shells sinks through the dim water, falling past drifting jellyfish, past slow-moving sea cucumbers on the abyssal plains, and into the deep darkness. Some of this material is eaten and reused, but some settles into sediments, where it can be locked away for thousands, even millions of years. A quiet record of past oceans preserved grain by grain. It is a place of memory as well as motion. Scientists sometimes call this the biological pump, but you can think of the ocean as a vast, slow-acting lung and a library combined, breathing in carbon and oxygen while also storing detailed stories of Earth's climate in layered water masses and in mud on the seafloor. It's astonishing to think that by studying tiny shells buried far below, we can read temperatures, storms, and seasons from ages long before humans appeared, all archived in silence beneath the water. All you need to do is relax and notice how this knowledge feels more comforting than alarming. The same deep currents that move heat around the globe also carry these chemical traces, stitching together polar seas and warm tropics into one connected system that quietly supports our lives. Yet as we learn more about these gentle exchanges of gas and carbon, we are also discovering how delicate they truly are, how even small changes in temperature and chemistry can ripple outward, almost imperceptibly at first, through the entire ocean. In the next stretch of our journey, we will follow those ripples into the darker zones below, where the balance between change and stability becomes even more mysterious. Those ripples have been carrying us steadily downward, through layers of water and layers of thought, and by now a great many images have flowed past you, like a slow procession of lights drifting into the deep. Whole mountain ranges hidden beneath the waves, delicate plankton at the surface, slow currents turning through the darkness of the abyss. Perhaps they have all begun to blur together a little, and that is perfectly all right. You do not need to hold on to any of it. You do not need to sort the facts or remember the names or trace each current in your mind. This is not an exam or a test of memory. It is a quiet journey, and all you need to do is relax while the ocean moves gently around you, carrying away sharp edges of thought until only soft impressions remain. If you like, you can notice a single breath now, without effort, the way you might notice a small wave reaching the shore and then slipping back. Inhale in a way that feels natural, and allow your breath to slow just a little on the exhale, as if it were a long, smooth tide flowing out across wet sand, leaving the beach a little more open, a little more peaceful, each time it retreats. All the information we have touched so far can be imagined as those waves, arriving, washing over the shore of your attention, and then sliding back into the wider ocean of your mind. Some details may linger for a moment, like foam, and some may vanish at once, but what stays behind is not a list of facts. It is a feeling of calm curiosity, a gentle sense thaw,